pretty crazy. Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to our 10th anniversary special. It's finally here. I am so sorry it took so long because part 1 and all these other parts are extremely long. Part 1 is an hour freaking long.
God, just splitting this up is a bloody mission in itself, isn't it?
But I just want to say thank you all for being so patient with me, waiting for this thing to come out. I'm so excited to show this off to you guys. So big thank you to everybody, especially on those on Patreon. If you guys want to go support our channel, just $1 more will get you access to all of our content as well as other special features. And there are so many people I have to thank right now who participated in this episode. The entire cast and crew, not just of this episode, but like my entire show for the last 10 years. AMETHYST Cosplay, Doctor Terawatt, who's now Chief McBeck on Twitch, but most notably, spoiler alerts, Doug Walker, aka the Nostalgia Critic. He was such a nice chap getting us a cameo, and he's one of the reasons we've had this job for 10 years. In fact, this is part of the Reviewerverse, and it's a continuation of that. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of fun to put together. Arguably my most expensive episode to date. Brace yourselves for a huge epic finale for Season 7, and don't worry, we'll be back with Season 8.
This is going to be the hardest thing I ever do in my life, and I will never... I've actually had enough really of these complicated things. My next movie is going to be very simple. Whatever it is, it will be as simple as hell.
Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the show. And here's our 10th anniversary. The following is a fan-based video review under fair use. Ready Player One is owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, Village Roadshow Pictures, D-Line Pictures, Crown Publishing Group, Amblin Entertainment, Steven Spielberg, and Ernest Cline. Please support the official release and streaming services. It's BigJackFilms here.
Jack, you've been at the damn thing for over a year. Are you sure the doctors didn't give you faulty hardware?
He's been my friend since I was a boy, and without him, the fictional dimensional transporter would have been nothing more than a pipe dream. In 2003, Doctor Terawatt took in an unknown assistant to help him with his early technological experiments. His former partner, a head psychiatrist at the local mental hospital, was rumored to be working on experiments with volunteer patients. The doctor has since been unknown to the public eye.
To have grown naive and soft since the Great War.
Choose to forget.
A chance to take out the Avengers, you say? What's in it for me?
With a warrior, as a chance.
The rumors are true then. The Dark One lives.
You will find out soon enough. If he has indeed returned, this could mean trouble for the other worlds.
We cannot let our Lord and Master keep waiting.
Department for Meta-Human Control? You're the guys after Doctor Terawatt, aren't you? If you remember.
Good evening, Mr. Buchanan.
You.
Where do you plan to move?
Unit 205.
That was stripped and abandoned by the department before the Great War.
In 2005, the FBI raided the warehouse, which ended in a large explosion.
The fight isn't over for Dr. Nigel Gablor. He wants you back. He knows that you'll go down to the ends of the earth to face down the Dark One, and god damn it, you need to find a way.
Him out of the way, the invasion can proceed faster. Full sail, boys! Good form calls us to the sea.
I'm mapping out the route to Unit 205. It's the last known location of Dr. Terawatt. He's the only one who can rebuild the FTT to fend off this invasion.
Jack, no one has seen Dr. Terawatt for years.
I haven't seen you in 6 years. What's been the holdup?
Let's just say I'm going through a bit of an infinite crisis.
I got your message about the fuel supply you need. It will take time to replicate more, now that we're on high alert here.
No luck on finding Unit 205, though.
Found it.
What?
On the outskirts of the city. It's going to be tough to get to. The invasion's already started.
Hope to find you there, Doc. You're our only hope.
15 years ago, the Dark One, known as Gablor, led a fierce army on a campaign to conquer the Great Worlds. His grand prize, the real world of Earth, to become the ultimate creator. And with his human host, his plan began to be set into motion. Though only one stood in his way, the chosen warrior, known as the Eldorian, countered his army, the finest fighters in the multiverse. And upon that battlefield, the Great War began. After a vicious war lasting what seemed like an eternity, the final blow from the Eldorian's mighty sword of light banished Gablor and his minions back to their respective worlds. Though not destroyed due to the mercy of the Great Warrior, for 15 years the Dark One lay dormant in the realms of evil. Though prepared for evil's return, the Great Warrior went into hiding, retreating to the north and hiding his powers away and sealing the portal to the multiverse from the outside world. Unaware that the Dark One has a portal of his own, ready to conquer the universe of space and time, once again.
At last, the portal is complete. Our time has come. Our time to terrorize, make me fall, Gablor paradise. Reforging and finalize, make me fall, Gablor paradise. Combat and radicalize for a glorious Gablor paradise. Gablor will tyrannize and protect Gablor paradise.
My noble warriors and conquerors, soldiers of fortune and evil, our power is once again rising. Its victory finally at hand. Upon the last night of the season, the worlds will be stained with the blood of the innocent, both real and fictitious. March to the world of reality, to the city of the North and evil. Leave none alive, for the land of creators is yours now. To death and glory, to blood and fear, to vengeance and conquest, to war and victory. For you, Eldorian.
be it for now. Unit 205 is close at hand. Should be in this exact location. Oh! Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and I think it's about time I discuss today's current climate regarding movie-going experiences with crossovers and continuity. While crossovers for the longest time have been rare on film and television, we have to start at the very beginning. No, not that far. But when it comes to the first known crossover in motion pictures, it was in 1910 with the German drama serial Arsène Lupin, no relation, contra Sherlock Holmes. Unfortunately, the serial has been lost to time for the last 100 years, and not much is known about it today. For animation, it was 1936's Betty Boop and Little Jimmy, which later influenced crossovers with the likes of Popeye, among many others. But it's in more recent years that the genre had a real mainstay, and that mostly stemmed back to the comic book industry, which in the 2000s was adapted to film with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for which crossovers and continuity-driven cinematic universes have become the mainstay in the box office revenue, and what today's moviegoers are invested in. Even down to other studios catching up on Disney, with some being hit or miss, from the DCEU, the Monsterverse with Godzilla, which even then stemmed from the original Toho series, and even, oh god, the Dark Universe. Though, to be fair, it was arguably the classic Universal Studios monsters that began the concept of the cinematic universe, with their horror icons from Dracula, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, the Mummy, and many others, sharing the same timeline. Stupid notifications. Sharing the same timeline of thrilling stories for filmgoers of the Golden Age, a phenomenon that Universal only dreams to reclaim. But with the floodgates now open for cinematic universes and crossovers in multiple franchises, the next step is pretty obvious. We break the wall with multiverse crossovers. And on that record, the comic book movie genre is already on it for both film and television. Sure, TV was the mainstay with the likes of the Tommy Westphal hypothesis. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's a really detailed hypothesis on hundreds of shows sharing the same universe. Check out Movie Bob's video on that. But now is a game changer with the CW/DC series Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I hope you're watching, big guy.
But of course it is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or Marvel Cinematic Multiverse at this point, that beat all of them to the punch, starting with Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, with past incarnations of beloved characters completely violating the fabric of space and time within their existences. Yeah, how did Doc Brown put it?
The encounter could create a time paradox, the results of which could cause a chain reaction that would unravel the very fabric of the space-time continuum and destroy the entire universe!
And it's more than likely that this will be the next decade of franchises going forward that will succeed or fail. I'm looking at you, Flash. But surprisingly enough, the multiverse has already been opened with franchises. And who better to bring the visuals of shared characters and worlds together than the man who made movies fun again in the 70s. That, of course, being one of our favorite directors on this show, Mr. Steven Spielberg. And he's no stranger to my show at all. Hell, in my eyes, Steven is, at this point, the Walt Disney of our time. Literally to an extent, given his obsession with animation led to some of Don Bluth's best movies, his short-lived company Amblimation, and his work with Warner Brothers producing Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, and most notably, how Batman the Animated Series and the DCAU was formed. To this day, he's created and directed some of the greatest movies ever made, including the recently amazing self-biopic with The Fablesman, created many memorable shows in animation and live action, produced other great classics like Back to the Future, The Goonies, Super 8, Transformers, and even the Multiverse game changer with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which then spun into the Space Jam franchise and Chip and Dale. Built the greatest theme parks ever made with Universal Studios, and even now has protégés under his wing with the likes of J.J. Abrams and other incredible filmmakers. He's honestly a downright genius. Hell, when I was even a protege to Doctor Terawatt eons ago, Steven inspired me in creating the FDT with the likes of Back to the Future and so on, because of all of the amazing work he's done. He's just that imaginative. There have been some hit or misses in recent years due to his change in style since Saving Private Ryan, but most of the time his films are pretty much 100% perfect. And with the rise of nostalgia in the 2010s, and the crossover genres more embraced by the media, it seemed natural for the filmmaker to go back to his roots and make a loving tribute film to not only the last 40 years of film, but pop culture as a whole. And for our 10th anniversary special, I figured this movie was the perfect movie to cover that brings everything we've talked about in one big package. Which brings us to today's film, and quite personally is one of Steven's best films in a long-ass time. That, of course, being 2017's game-changing epic, Ready Player One. Based on the best-selling novel by Ernest Cline, and much like most of Steven's best, the film follows a young boy named Wade Watts, played by Ty Sheridan, living in the futuristic world of 2045. A mere 23 years from now. In that time, the real world is a harsh place, isn't it always been? With a more overpopulated dystopian look, zero to no outside social life due to lack of environmental conceptions, Wally would be so proud of you guys, and digital currency is the norm. Are we sure this doesn't take place today? But the only time Wade truly feels alive is when he escapes to the Oasis, a technological triumph in the video game industry, with an immersive virtual universe where most of humanity spends their days. Where's the game? In the Oasis, you can go anywhere, do anything, be anyone, and the only limits are your own imagination from OC fanfiction characters to the magical worlds and characters of every IP in existence that Warner Brothers copyrights could allow.
And as such, an exclusive property and trademark of Warner Brothers, Inc.
The Oasis was created by the brilliant and eccentric James Halliday, played by Mark Rylance, who left his immense fortune and total control of the Oasis to the winner of a 3-part contest he designed to find a worthy heir, including $500 billion. 500 billion for those who can't do math, but when Wade conquers the first challenge of the reality-bending treasure hunt, he and his friends, aka the High Fives, aka Spielberg Group Kids number 82, who are hurled into a fantastical universe of discovery and danger to save the Oasis from the capitalist evils of the IOI Corporation, who strike an odd resemblance to the Department of Meta-Human Control, don't they? Ruled with an iron fist by its CEO, Nolan Sorrento. Played by Ben, I'm gonna be typecast as every bad guy in every movie I'm in because I was in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, as Imperial Director Krennic, and The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, you forgot he was in that, didn't you? Medelson, who wants to cheat the games and gain control of the Oasis. And assuming, given the Oasis is the key to the planet's economics, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course!
I am never gonna get tired of that joke. And of course, it's up to Wade and our band of heroes and multi-crossover characters to stop them and gain the Easter eggs to win the game, which may lead to fair play, or worse, war. So, what do I think of what is essentially the Where's Waldo movie? Well, despite better written multiverse movies to come after, for a first try, this was pretty damn awesome and short. When I first heard the film's development with Steven Spielberg at the helm, it came at a very interesting time in the director's career when his dramatic historical movies were pretty much hit or miss. Warhorse was a decent flick, and Lincoln really put me on a bit of a tilt head with him at the time, given I labeled it as his worst film for being so boring and such a slum to sit through that I actually fell asleep.
The president has been shot.
Seriously, Steven, how do you make a film so dry you can't even show the most crucial scene of the historical story? But I was curious by the title alone, and when I heard it was essentially a video game movie, and considering video game movies at the time, this was pre-Sonic, Mario, and Rampage, folks, I was curious what it would entail given Steven was a fan of video games, playing the likes of the Atari 2600 and the NES with his kids in the 80s. Which, by the way, the Atari is all over this film, yet no cameo from the E.T. game. What the hell, Steven? But when I saw the trailer, this wasn't just a simple video game movie. This was something far bigger than expected, and seeing the likes of the Iron Giant, the Battletoads, the DCEU, and even a goddamn Gundam set to Valhallen's Jump? Not gonna lie, I quoted Leo DiCaprio's line in Django Unchained.
You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
I was taken back since a multiverse story in battle had been a dream of mine since I was a kid. So to see Steven succeed to present that, I was hyped as hell. But also kinda pissed off for stealing my idea. I made my mind up to see it with Brad in the spring of 2018, and needless to say, I was pretty damn excited leaving the theater while we were doing an opening night. Thank you, Steven, for making my dream movie, and fuck you, Steven Spielberg, for making my dream movie! You stole my fucking idea! Okay, not entirely. Look, I'm so mad I've caused it to go out of focus. God damn it. It was a really good breath of fresh air to get my creative juices going, and I knew I wanted to review this movie on a good special occasion with everything involved. Not only with things I've covered being incorporated into one movie, but being a multiverse movie with so much going on both epic and socially within the world, the concept was too good to pass up. Especially with what's been going on my end of things on this show. To explain this in a way, I have to go through my brief history with crossovers and how it inspired and sparked my imagination growing up. And that of course means we have to go back to the beginning. No! God damn it, we're not doing that! It's hard to pinpoint when it was, but the first crossover I ever saw was watching the 90s Spider-Man cartoon as a kid. In the episode The Mutant Agenda, Spider-Man is considered to possibly be a mutant, and to resolve the problem, ends up in an all-familiar academy. That would be interesting, but of course it's the home of the X-Men.
Make one wrong move, please, and you're shish kebab.
Holy fuck! When I was a kid, my jaw dropped, having no idea that Spider-Man and the X-Men were part of the same universe. I didn't read Marvel comics or have any knowledge of Marvel as a whole, and all the characters that shared a continuity, so for a young kid watching Saturday morning cartoons, this was a genuine shock, but frickin' awesome! The episode not only had great chemistry with the characters, but also managed to combine the theme songs during action scenes, and it works really damn well.
Nice. I come to the peaceful countryside, and I wind up in the Pentagon.
Then later on in the late 90s, I remember catching an infamous episode of Power Rangers in Space where this happened.
You want Rangers? You gotta go through turtles.
I can't believe it, but I think they're...
It's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles!
Now, having watched the Rangers since the Mighty Morphin days, reading Turtles comics and watching the movies, another jaw-dropper was the epic crossover with the current Ranger team meeting the Saban variant of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the Next Mutation series. While both teams have their common tropes intertwined, it was another awesome moment of my childhood to see this epic team-up. While not the Mighty Morphin team, being in the Zordon era gave it some major leeway.
Power Ranger Ninja Turtles! Oh, fuck yeah! This is the shit!
And when it comes to Next Mutation, while it is considered bad, it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. Since then, crossovers became more exposed to me, from the Jetsons Meet the Flintstones, several Looney Tunes and Muppet Babies cartoons, from Rabbit Hood, where Bugs Bunny met Errol Flynn,
Nah, that's silly, it couldn't be him.
to the multi-crossover episode Muppet Babies The Next Generation.
Bonus.
And in case you're wondering, no, I did not grow up with the multi-crossover special Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue. That was before my time, and then I didn't discover it till the advent of the internet, with people who have covered it who basically gave me my job. Including...
That would be moi, Big Jack Films, you're welcome.
God damn it, Nostalgia Critic, I thought you were stuck in the nerd's closet!
I got out.
Okay, well this is hardly the time to reach out to me. The Earth's being invaded right now.
Maple leaves must be one hell of a drug to conjure that delusion up. There might be a Canadian PSA for that.
Look out your window, Critic.
Well, that's just a typical Tuesday for Chicago anyway.
Yeah, so don't bug me again. I gotta finish this review before the reviewerverse is in total shambles.
Reviewer lore is still a thing?
10 years picking up your shit you left from the plot hole, Critic. 10 years. Your incompetence entering the plot hole and causing the chain reaction wave to happen through space and time is what allowed Gablor to be awakened after 7 years of being sealed away since the Great War. Ironically, 10 years since I started my frickin' show. Now some of us are still picking up the pieces you left in order to save the reviewerverse. When is it not a thing? Even down to the DCAU with World's Finest, and even the infamous episode from the short-lived season of Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo Goes to the Movies, where the Mystery Gang cross paths with Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin?
A tradition that has had revisitations even today. P.S. I totally shipped Robin and Daphne growing up. She's the Starfire of the DC Barbara universe. That's canon to me, folks! Not Not to mention, Cartoon Network pretty much became a source haven for my inspiration of the genre, with tons of their advertisements showcasing what it would be like to work at the studio. And as an enthusiastic kid, much like cartoon characters appearing at the Oscars, this was really intriguing and made me want to actually work at Cartoon Network.
This is why I never come here anymore.
Also, need any mention of Bravo Doobie-Doo alone for being one of the crowning staples of the network?
My glasses! I can't see without my glasses!
My glasses! I can't be seen without my glasses!
It was around this time as a kid that my imagination soared with possibilities. It even went beyond that too. If you remember a few videos back in Razorblade's Magic Voyage review, I mentioned how I grew up with obscure animated movies. One of those was, of course, the infamous Felix the Cat the movie. I talked about that back in season 2, so I'll save you the trouble and time on talking about it, and I would just recommend checking out that video. But it's where the cat was out of the bag with my inspiration for dimensional travel. With all mixed in, the possibilities were endless for my utter love for crossovers, and combine that with the endless fan fictions on the internet, this one being one of the best. I bring all these points up because Steven essentially created something I wanted to see that only existed in my imagination and certainly in others. And while I felt a tad cheated that my concept was stolen despite being based on a book, it was pretty much a test run for what could be done and the possibilities of better and bigger projects in Hollywood, from character paths, team-ups, united villains, and a source of how to bridge over. I mean, in all fairness, this movie was practically the key to everything we've built today. It kind of reminds me of the first time Doctor Terawatt and I built the FDT. I remember it like it was yesterday, in a poorly rendered flashback. I mean, shit, back then I was just a kid and had been the doc's assistant for about a month or two. Most people thought he was crazy and sending me down the wrong path, including of all people my therapist. Don't ask. Sort of a Doc and Marty relationship between us. But it was in that time period I was telling the Doc of my fascination with movies and entertainment. And at that moment, the time had come to show me his greatest creation yet. And the only way I can show you guys this is through old archival surveillance footage from Evil Incorporated.
Accessing archive. Eruption.
Alright, now I need you to get behind that lead shield. Yes. I'm about to switch this on. You don't want to be out in the open when that happens.
Power converter activated. Temporal experiment number 1. Engaged.
Working. Ready.
Jesus, Doc, you're a genius! It works!
No, not yet. We need a stable molecular structure to test it first, to make sure it functions at 100% capacity.
Well, who would want to go?
Well, the appropriate question, Jack, to ask would be, where do you want to go? With this, we could advance science and technology in ways that we never thought possible. We could send you to any fictional universe you can imagine. You could be our first fictional dimensional traveler. I mean, see, here's the thing. Teleportation, like moving within your universe, is relatively rudimentary as far as mad science goes. Just above that, you have multiversal travel, so traveling anywhere within the infinite multiverse. Then, finding and locking in and specifying a universe that exactly matches a piece of fictional media that we have, that's the hard part. That's the genius part. You are welcome.
Any universe? What are you talking about? Now, hold on a minute. Doc, hold the phone. Are you trying to tell me that this...
It's a fictional dimensional transporter. FDT for short.
Unbelievable.
Well, I always knew it would work. I knew it would work when you had that vision in your head. Patient 92. But I was never able to harvest enough power or the right source to test it. Power is the key. Massive amounts of energy to accelerate matter to the speed of light while maintaining and controlling an extremely powerful gravitational force of space-time. We were never able to generate that kind of power until today.
Whoa, this is heavy duty, Doc. This is pretty crazy.
Precisely. Here, let me show you how it works. So the power converter, now operating at peak efficiency thanks to the physiological makeup of the black hole energy. I sent a drone into space to gather some black hole matter. Please don't ask how that worked. To channel energy into the converter here, which then releases several terawatts in a fraction of a millisecond, very small amount of time. Electron acceleration then takes place here, and the result is the temporal displacement beam that you saw a few moments ago. The entire process is triggered with really just a few codes and knobs and buttons. It's very user-friendly.
I thought that power converter thing operated on solar energy. There's no sun.
It is, but only for electricity to power it. The solar energy would have worked just fine if I could have placed the device a scant few inches from the surface of the bloody sun, but instead I've created, we're going to say, similar conditions with regards to gigajoules here in the reactor using the black hole matter. The higher I raise the cadmium rods, the more energy I release from its core.
Jeez, Doc, you've got a gold mine here.
A gold mine? The worlds, Jack. The fictional worlds are everything. I created this machine so that we could advance our technology far beyond anything we could hope to create for millennia. You can assist me if you like.
Might as well. Nothing else better to do.
Alright, now take the Inuyasha DVD and insert it into the drive. Type in whatever timeline you're choosing.
Sure thing, come on.
Loading time complete. Please insert media device into the launch slot.
They're obviously pretty close to the rail yard. Notify them and the guards, let them know what's going on.
Accessing data from World 2692 with launch codes 10162000.
Time set. Energy levels at 10 rads. Stabilization coeffective 43. 16 rads. 73 rads.
OPP, open up!
Launch code reset 3200 watt.
Freeze! OPP! Jesus Christ, that's a goddamn reactor!
Get back, Jack.
You! Shut it down! Now!
That will not be necessary.
Everyone, get out! We're in the middle of an extremely dangerous experiment.
Oh, come now, Doctor. I have no need for this reactor. I'm merely here for the boy.
Hey, sir, didn't you need us because a mental patient had access to a radioactive explosive?
Only if the boy escaped.
What do you want, old man? You have no authority over me. You discharged me yourself.
Oh, yes. But I was mistaken. Looking at your reports, my employees told me that your psychosis was something they'd never seen before. Almost inhuman, in a way.
What are you talking about?
We need to do a bit more studies on you, my boy. A bit more interesting studies.
I want you to measure your next actions very carefully.
Well, to hell with that! I'd rather take my chances in this pool, to be honest. I won't fall for your lies as my parents did.
Squish it.
All systems ready.
Jump, boy! Jump for your life!
That's nothing!
Get your ass out of my way! You get the hell up out of here!
What have you done? I could have stopped the boy!
Stopped him? You would have killed him!
The boy was a valuable asset to me! You have 3 seconds to tell me where he is.
Why? What possible use could you have for an average boy? Besides, he's right where he needs to be. His destiny.
I work for the United Nations government, and I'm placing you under arrest, Mr. Terawatt. And I am confiscating all of your technology for military government research.
Wait, you're an undercover agent?
There's no point, Gablor. This was all a prototype. It only worked the once. If you tried to repower it, the steel structure wouldn't hold for another trip.
Well then, we'll just have to put you on the payroll to build me a new one.
I'm sorry, Gablor, but all the files and supplies that you need are located on this drive. Jack warned me about you, and it looks like he was right. Hate to say it. Well, that's a lie. I love to say it. I've got other plans.
No! Darkness, damn you, light child!
You there, boy!
Yeah?
Did you emerge from a shining light just now?
Yeah. Who are you?
Forgive me for not giving you thy name. I am called Cedric, the Wizard, the highest rank of the Great Council of all wizards throughout the Great Worlds. I am a friend of your Professor Terawatt. A great wizard he is, full of magic. He informed me of your arrival ahead of time.
Well, it's better than nothing. It's freezing out here. Where am I?
You are where you need to be. Eldorian of the Light. Your destiny.
Oh my god, it worked.
Come with me, boy. There is much to learn and much to see. You have traveled far. You shall now be entering a whole new set of worlds. Come along. We've a ways to go.
These are all discs we used to travel to the different multiverses in Unit 205. I'm closer than I thought. Marvel. Hogwarts. The Mushroom Kingdom. Narnia. Neverland. Well, I hope to God, Peter, that you're still here with us when the battle comes. I gotta keep going. So yeah, I've been wanting to talk about this movie in more depth for a while since my opening night review. What is love? And afterwards doing research on the project, I found some interesting insights, and for this review, I actually took time to read the book. My thoughts on the book, though, are complicated. As of late, whenever I see Steven adapt a popular book from Jaws onwards, he always waters down the source material to be more family-friendly. This goes for the likes of Jurassic Park, which I'll talk about in the Legacy reviews down the line. However, reading the book Ready Player One, I can actually see better improvements in the movie in comparison to the book, which is much better executed because when you get down to it, along with its appropriately titled sequel, Ready Player 2, the books are kind of awful. Now look, I understand the concept at the time being a major bestseller, and if you like the book, you'll like the book. But the book feels really self-indulgent and more like an unclever fanfiction journal written at Comic-Con.
Hey, check it out, Nerd Fight.
The characters are mostly jerks and unlikable, and the story's point of view comes off as more aggressive towards the female demographic and stupid references to current events and pop culture. While the concepts on the page sound spectacular and even showcase probably a bigger budgeted production that Warner Brothers can definitely not afford, especially right now, there were times it felt off to read, and kind of uncomfortable with character personalities. However, believe it or not, the second book, Ready Player 2, is even worse, and even mentions on countless occasions the almost self-aware references to Sword Art Online. Yes, Sword Art Online. Speaking of which, there's no doubt the comparisons to the second book mostly stem from the criticisms that Ernest Cline basically ripped off creator Rike Kawada's conflicting manga and anime series. And tell me this doesn't sound familiar. Set in 2022, my god, we really are in the future, a young kid escapes his closeted home life to spend most of his life in a VR video game where he meets a band of friends, a hot chick, and complete missions and levels to beat the game from the hands of a powerful overlord within the game who wants full control. Yeah, that's Ready Player One, both the book and movie. Now, granted, I've only watched the first 5 episodes of Sword Art Online back in 2014 as a vlog series that I immediately canceled. That was almost a decade ago? God, I'm really due to finish that series. I already saw the comparisons in the trailers and the movie itself even before reading the book, and it's hard not to, honestly. You could even repackage Sword Art Online as Ready Player One, the animated series, and it's practically the same thing. Now, there have been hit or misses with the anime, but for the time, I did enjoy it for what it is, and also that theme song still kicks ass. And while it plays a major part in the sequel book, the first story and with the movie, however, kind of just being that with a story mixed with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And there's a few reasons for it. Now, I am no stranger to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's practically one of my favorite childhood movies, and it's obvious and clear that Ernest was inspired to a degree by the writings of Roald Dahl's book, but more so the classic 1971 film starring Gene Wilder. Which, funny enough, Steven wanted to originally play Halliday. No joke, much like Jurassic Park and Jaws, when the book was a hit in 2011, Steven was right on board to direct it, and seeing the parallels to Wonka, wanted Gene in the main role of the creator of the Oasis. Thank God it wasn't the Johnny Depp version.
Mr. Wonka, I'm Violet Beauregard.
I don't care.
You're channeling a candy maker crossed with Michael Jackson. This is not what Roald Dahl wrote, Tim!
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal!
But for God's sakes, Crispin Glover even knew this was bad!
That's actually the sewer line.
However, due to the still developing technology and Steven working on other projects, Gene never got to give such a performance due to his death during the Great Hollywood Death Plague of 2016. Though, using the song Pure Imagination in the trailers, it's clear they paid tribute to the late actor in some way within the film. But as a film in of itself, adapted from the book, the movie is actually a better, more fun story to tell, and that's no doubt thanks to Steven's input as a writer and director. Filled left to right with pop culture references and Easter eggs, impressive merging of worlds and its effects, a decent score, and a great cast of leading characters. Now, I should say that the majority of the characters are pretty generic and cliche, again somewhat inspired by Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, with Wade Watts being our Charlie Bucket of the movie. A young kid who seeks something more in himself, and his attempts and achievements to be a champion of the game. He kind of reminds me of Ash Ketchum in Pokemon, but has a lot going for him in this movie, from a typical player obsessed with the makings and past of the game's development, but its creator for ultimately being a hero and savior of a dystopian future, desperate for hope and prosperity for a brighter tomorrow. His avatar is also pretty cool, going by the name Parvasol, going for a mix of Jack Frost with some anime, goth, and 80s rebel punk attire in his outfits. I swear, half of his wardrobe came from the fucking Breakfast Club.
Should I go more thriller?
Well, maybe it's more than the Breakfast Club.
Clark Kent glasses. They hide your identity without changing your look.
Okay, us nerds own the fact that nobody can see past Clark Kent's stupid fucking glasses.
Somebody freaking notice him!
You're not even trying to be subtle about it anymore, Warner Brothers.
His favorite quote was from Superman. Some people can read War and Peace and come away thinking it's a simple adventure story.
I do not want another single pop culture reference out of you for the rest of the trip.
Don't even bother, Stark. This whole movie is a pop culture reference bukkake. He falls for the typical cliches of solving the clues, getting the girl, and fighting the bad guy. And while generic and kind of outdated, not gonna lie, I kind of miss in movies nowadays. I know we're living in a more progressive time, but there's nothing wrong with paying homage to the classic hero tropes of the past. The movie is already dripping with nostalgic shit, so you might as well add such nostalgia and character development. I mean, come on, I can't be the only one who's noticed Hollywood's complete disbandment of the classic hero archetypes. The Luke Skywalkers, the Rodney Copperbottoms, the D'Artagnans, the Robin Hoods. Where are the heroes of the past to lead us to a better future? You could definitely give them different shades of gender, race, but the dashing personality is just nowhere to be found nowadays. It's mostly depressive saps that you'd see in a Frank Miller comic, and quite frankly, guys, I'm getting kinda sick of it. But for what he's given, Ty Sheridan was picked during a lengthy casting call, but has had a decent career both before and after this film, being James Marsters' replacement in the X-Men movies as Cyclops. He's said to be somewhat of a gamer and even providing motion capture for a few games in the sports genre, such as Madden 21. And considering how much motion capture he probably learned in this movie, it's pretty cool to see him do that career path as a side job.
It's not about winning. It's about playing.
Olivia Cooke plays Samantha Cook, aka Artemis. In the Oasis, Artemis is one of the most powerful players in the game, with a lot of weight to carry, not just playing the game to survive, but turns out to be part of an underground resistance to the real world against the IOI Corporation.
Welcome to the rebellion.
Ah yes, Ben Mendelsohn once again fighting another rebellion against his tyrannical empire. Keep that tight casting going, Hollywood.
Are we blind? Deploy the garrison!
Now, while there were some decent runners-up from the likes of Ellie Fanning considered for the role, I mean, hell, what's Anna Sophia Robb doing nowadays? I think Olivia Cooke was a decent choice for the role of Artemis, and much like her male co-star, has had decent work before or after in Bates Motel and the recent House of the Dragon. On top of that, her avatar, I'm not gonna lie, is pretty kick-ass and kinda hot, especially in both the dance scene and the iconic bike from Akira, which was nice of Steven to include, given he's a fan of the 1988 classic. And God, it's so surreal to see that thing in a live-action movie after years of hell trying to get an actual movie off the ground. Funny, since when the original movie came out, Spielberg and Lucas stated the film was unmarketable at the time and that the West was not ready for an animated film like this. An opinion which no doubt challenged the West and potentially sparked the big bang of the anime boom we see today. Despite what big Hollywood executives tell you of how animation is still aimed at fucking children.
Our fans and our audiences put their kids to bed at night after watching Pinocchio or Dumbo or Little Mermaid. They're probably not going to tune into another animated movie. They want something.
Boy, if you don't. But back to Artemis. As she joins Wade on his journey, the two of course become star-crossed lovers. I will admit, though, her motives in fighting IOI is kind of generic.
My dad died in a loyalty center. He borrowed gear. He built up debt. He moved in with the promise of working it out, but he never did. IOI just raised his living expenses, then he got sick and he couldn't afford to get out, and then he died!
But again, I'll let it slide because I kinda like that cliche of the daughter avenging her father's death. Because hey, everybody can get Princess Bride syndrome.
You die with the rebellion.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop the video for a sec in a new segment of the show where I pause the review with my retro remote, but does anybody else notice that this movie kind of rips off Rogue One? I mean, I know I'm making a lot of comparisons and jokes, but it's oddly similar, isn't it? I mean, Steven, first ripping off Star Tours with Back to the Future the Ride, and now this? I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna make a sticky note of that later, as you guys can see there, and just, there we go. We'll discuss it sometime in maybe part 2 or 3, but something to think about. Just saying.
But everyone's gonna get confused! We gotta go back to the beginning of the story!
No, Pumbaa, we're already wasting enough time. Let's just dim the lights and get back to the picture. I'll bring up some flaws later on her character, but for now, all of them lead the charge as a team with some decent chemistry and action bits against the villains of the movie. Which leads us to Nolan Centero, the head of IOI who wants to claim the Oasis for full control of the world, both in technological feats and economics. He's your typical evil businessman in the vein of something like Slugworth in Willy Wonka or Louis Dawson in Jurassic Park. Minus his drastic change in character and dominion. What the fuck, Colin?
Nobody cares.
Now, this cliche you might think has been done to death recently, but honestly, in comparison to other films, Centero is actually a bit more fun to watch as a one-dimensional villain. Not just the fact that they're pretty much taking a major stab to the cryptocurrencies, loot boxes, and massive advertisements in the online and gaming world, which, god damn, is fucking annoying. But most of the credit goes to actor Ben Mendelsohn, who unfortunately since Rogue One has been typecasted as tons of villains recently, suffering almost the same fate as the likes of Tim Roth or Christoph Waltz in their careers. Like I said, he first popped up in The Dark Knight Rises, but also in the god-awful uninspiring adaptation of Robin Hood as the Sheriff of Nottingham.
All tax collections now go directly to the Count Room and double the guard.
I'm sorry, Ben, but you're just no Alan Rickman.
Cancel the kitchen scraps for lepers and orphans. No more merciful beheadings. And call off Christmas.
But here, his character is less of a Steve Jobs stereotype and more on par with business villains of the 2000s, reminding me more of all things Von Scheck in Hey Arnold the movie.
Von Scheck? I wonder if there's any relation.
Yeah, that movie's kind of underrated and an obscure reference to bring up, but hear me out. Unlike Von Scheck, we don't really know his history on why he wants the Oasis other than power itself. But it's just fun to see how far he'll go to achieve his goals, even down to literally drone-bombing civilians, attempting to kill kids, and even holding neighborhoods at gunpoint. Jesus Christ, I don't like corporate greed either, but what company has ever held you at gunpoint? Well, not yet at least.
Stop it, please, I beg you!
His avatar is pretty generic, with the cross of Shaq and the likes of Ratchet from Robots. And I really dig the concept of his volcanic-esque castle, guarded by several IOI stormtroopers, Atari Easter eggs, and quite the arsenal, which I'll explain later.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director.
Man, you're even taking concepts from Lord Vader's castle? This is sounding like a little too much, Nolan.
I'm in charge.
Do you feel in charge?
I mean, who else would have a castle that evil looking? Alright!
Hold on! That's far enough, Patient 92. You're surrounded. You won't get away this time.
You guys don't know when to quit, do you?
You cannot escape. No matter where you go, we will track you. The jig is up, kid. You lost.
Yeah, I don't think so, Norman.
Serve, my boy. Dropped by to make a business venture, have we?
Your application to join the Avengers didn't pass the board, so I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
Start, you got any leaks?
2, actually. I got the team assembled. We'll be ready when you need us. And I mapped out our route to the unit so you don't get lost. Take a left, and you miles off.
I'll eat one, Stark. Thanks.
Give me a latte and a triple cheeseburger, and we'll call it even.
I got an idea. I'll give you cover fire. Well, hate to go out Michael Bay style.
Commander Osborn, we have a tracker on Patient 92.
should we follow up?
No! Report back to Cobra Commander. Stark is mine.
Underwater.
Dear Jack, if my calculations are correct, you will receive this letter at 2:05 without my presence. Rest assured I'm alive and well, but my time in this era is over. In my recent discoveries, I found my path is wanted in a new time, within a new life. I can't say what for the protection of where I go, but I wanted to keep you in the loop for your own journey. Your destiny lies upon a different path than mine. I have left specific instructions on some of my personal effects and tech that I pass on to you. Read them well, and use them to better the future. More will be told in time. For now, Jack, I say farewell. You've been a good, kind, and loyal friend to me as one of my greatest students, and you've made a real difference in my life. I will always treasure our friendship, and thank you for creating the greatest achievement humankind has ever seen. It will change the world for the better. Be proud of that, my friend. Until we meet again, Toronto's greatest supervillain and evil genius, Doctor Terawatt.
Must evacuate the tech safe.
Back for more, Commander?
Another bitch ate it, boy. Human.
Get in, put him.
That is so hot.
How'd you get the DeLorean? That's your biggest question? Brad said you needed a ride, so I got you one.
And the others?
Safe. We'll meet him at a rendezvous point. Even your robo-girlfriend you didn't tell me about.
I owe you one, love. We'll need to stay anonymous while we're on the road. We should get another vehicle, because things are about to get nuts. And the best thing we can do is fly forward into the future.
Jack, Nostalgia Critic here. Thank you for giving to the charity. I know I'm literally doing a cameo for you, like I'm sending you the video footage in a bit. I literally just got done filming that. But still, you pay for a cameo, I gotta give you one, so here it is. So you get two, kinda, sorta, maybe. Anyway, you're giving to a really, really good cause. That's what's important. It is the Kids Cancer Foundation, so thank you so very, very much for that. Hopefully by the time I get back today, I should have the cameo for you, so I don't really know what else to say here, but, squeaky. I don't know, it's one word that came to my head. Anyway, thank you for donating to the charity, and I hope the video turns out good, man. Take care.
Acquired the gauntlet, my lord. The factions within your universe have shown great qualities the last 20 years. Forgive me for asking, my lord, but do you think it's wise to have the gauntlet sent to Lord Gablor? Perhaps you think our master would allow you a chance after what you pulled when you snapped. Even if in retreat, we have reserves, many reserves. You, like me, ought to be stationed back with the likes of the Empire and Cyberchronians to capture the rules, until our master sees fit to use us. Know your place, Thanos. The Master would hate to have you just